Hi guys, just a really quick video. Weather's awful, so I finally had time to finish my Leggero Extreme Edition running the Runcam Split. And if you've seen the other videos, you know I've played around with a few ideas. And the way I've finally done it is using a few of the components that I've reviewed. So the good news is I've managed to get everything in. I've got a buzzer inside, I've got the Runcam Split, I've got everything that I want to do, and I've got full movement of the camera without top plate in view. So everything that I really wanted to do when the Runcam Split first came out. Now if I go through this build, at the bottom we have the Runcam Split board, and I placed it at the bottom with the wireless connector at the top of the board. And the reason I put it there, and as you can see wrap the ESCs around it, is that still allows me to plug the Wi-Fi module in. I don't care if the SD card is at the bottom, because I'm never going to take that SD card out unless it breaks, but I do want access to that USB, and that allows me to do that even with the ESCs in place. So we've got the Runcam Split board at the bottom. On top of that we've got the Racerstar 25 amp 4-in-1 ESC that I reviewed the other day, or gave you an overview of the other day. As I said at the time, it looked pretty much identical to the Cicada 25 amp that the original Avant BNFs come with. And speaking to Eddie at Avant, it's a pretty good ESC. So I hope that's going to be okay. On top of that, we've actually got, if you flip back to an earlier video, I had loads of problems with this sort of omnibus F4 mini flight controller, and basically what I've had to do is just run everything that needs voltage via a 5-volt separate regulator, and by doing that it's basically taken the pressure off the board, and it's been fine so far. And then on top of that I've got the VTX02, which is the Banggood tiny little VTX 200 milliwatt. I'm using the VTX02 instead of the VTX03, which has switchable power, simply because I've never actually switched. I always leave mine on 200 milliwatt, and that is absolutely fine. You know, if I do fly with a few people, that's not going to interfere with their signal. I don't race with dozens of other people, so it's not a problem for me. So you can see everything's fitted in. At the front, obviously you've got the camera, and beneath the camera, you probably won't even be able to see it, is the receiver, and it's just tucked in beneath the camera, but you can still move the camera up and down absolutely fine. I've removed the camera plates from the Leggero simply because I've found using these 3D printed mounts to be much easier. It gives you a little bit more flexibility, and obviously because they're 3D printed and just grip onto the standoffs, you can adjust the camera height up and down as much as you want, just to get the perfect angle. But as you can see, I can get pretty ridiculous camera angle wherever I want to go basically. At the back you can see here's the battery leads, and as I said in my earlier video, these are 18 gauge, so this is going to be a test to see whether they can stand up to the punishment these Cobra 1407 motors give them. If they don't, then Banggood will be refunding me, because they're selling 25 amp ESCs with 18 gauge wire, and I don't really see why I should have to mess around replacing them. But anyway, that's a conversation for another time. The wires wrap over the 5-volt regulator, which is sat here, and basically tucks in between the two standoffs. And this 5-volt regulator is basically a mini 5-volt regulator rated for 2 amp, so it's got enough power to support the Runcam Split, all the kind of bits and bobs in there. The VTX is also powered by it, and the VTX itself is powering the receiver. So everything is kind of being separated away from the potentially weak back on the flight controller. On top of there, I've also put in a buzzer, and that is essential on these small quads. What I always do is set my ESCs to chime after 2 minutes in case you lose it, but a buzzer on small ESCs like this is a lot louder, so that was an essential for me. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on in there, and it's not exactly the cleanest build I've ever made, simply because the regulator adds so much wiring that there's no real way to clean it up. It'd be much better if, you know, the 4-in-1 ESC had its own back, or the flight controller was better. When my B-Rotor F4 arrives, I bought a couple more of the B-Rotor F4 minis, which I like so much, that I'll probably change this guy out and put the B-Rotor flight controller in, just save myself any future hassle. But yeah, I really like it. Blue and orange as usual, my colour schemes. The actual weight of it, the weight of the quad at the moment as it stands, is 171 grams. So it's still really, really light, given that I've added, you know, in excess of 20-25 grams of weight by adding in the Runcam Split. One thing I forgot to mention actually is the converter board that I did a very quick video on. The Runcam Split board has the converter board on top of it, and then that converter board allows us to mount the 20x20mm ESC stack. But yeah, I mean, for 170 grams, it should be an absolute rocket, and the ability to record HD footage, you know, even though I only like messing around, I still like, you know, uploading and looking at my videos. So ever since I've had a 4-inch quad, this has kind of been my dream, to have, you know, HD video without ruining the flight capabilities of the quadcopter. So be interesting to see how this guy flies and how these Cobra motors do. From my quick testing, I suspect it's going to be very, very quick. So we shall have to wait and see. But just a quick video in case anybody wants to do this. You can do it. You can probably do it pretty much exactly the same on the Leggero S4L, simply because the actual plate itself, etc., is pretty much the same, the same size in terms of standoffs, etc. And of course, the benefit of using these 3D printed camera mounts is if you ran out of room, you could simply get longer standoffs if you wanted to do. So yeah, so really chuffed with it. This is the Extreme Edition, but even with all the stuff I've added onto it, it still comes in lighter than the original Leggero S4, which was reviewed by Josh Bardwell and UAV Futures. So yeah, so looking forward to flying this one. Cheers guys, thanks.